ready to take your investment game to the next level? Introducing Digital Investor, your ultimate guide to mastering the digital marketplace. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, Digital Investor brings you cutting-edge game theoretical strategies, expert insights, and real-time tips and tactics to analyze, evaluate, invest and grow your wealth. Don't miss out on the digital revolution. Visit www.nickblacknex.com and start your journey with Digital Investor today.
All right. I think that should be good. Get our little banners back. Bam. So we'll talk about a few things today, mostly Bitcoin related because, Bitcoin's pulling a runner again, even though the whole world's in a recession. At least now, half the world is admitting they're in a recession. See, you got to admit it. What is that? Acceptance? Some of those steps you have to take when you're a junkie. I don't know what it is. AA, when you go to AA, alcohol, all those anonymouses, LGBTQA, dope AA. Hell, if you're in baseball and you play in the AAA, everybody, all those groups, everybody's got problems. And the first thing you have to do is you have to admit you have a problem. I think you have to accept it. The black background on the chat. Yeah, I don't know why it's different on the other one, even though it's going through StreamYard. There may be an adjustment that we can do to make it for you guys. Other than that, yeah, it was very, very, very bright white yesterday, wasn't it? It was very white. A lot going on. Very white. All right. So yeah, the Bitcoin's up and all that kind of stuff. We will look at markets a little bit, but we have some cool, interesting news to talk about. We'll talk about more people calling for Bitcoin going to 1 million. More of these predictions. We have surprisingly a large amount of currency units that are blocked from being able to participate in BTC exposure. Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about that. Ethereum upgrades, what they endeavor to achieve in the network so that that thing isn't just the perennial letdown. So yeah, all that. And apparently I've got some new cat litter coming today that you can flush it. It disintegrates in water into like just goo. It just turns into a goo and you can flush it. No more litter bags. Maybe. No more litter bags. Maybe. It can also be a huge fail. We don't know. We're going to see. I'm very excited. Today is going to be a very exciting day. There's a lot going on. I went to my buddy, David. He had, so he does these monetized talks. If any of you, who here is on Instagram but does not absorb my cat pictures each day? There's some of you out there. You got no excuse. I'm going to put my little Instagram thing in the chat, and you're going to follow it. But I also occasionally put crypto stuff. Let's see. But anyway, yeah, so Dave has a thing called Monetize Talks that are at his, they're at his house. He's got a really cool house on Mulholland that kind of overlooks, kind of both sides. It kind of overlooks the Beverly Hills side and then the Beverly Hills / Sherman Oaks side. So you can see kind of both sides of the valley. It's really cool, but it's cold, but it's really cool. So he had his Monetize Talk. I think this was number maybe 14 or more. But anyway, he does one a month, and they're really cool. You get to hear people come up and they tell their story and all this kind of stuff. And a couple of the speakers were like speakers that are tour circuit speakers. They go on tour and speak. And they were very intense and a little cringy. And when I say a little cringy, I mean a lot cringy, like very cringy, like uncomfortably cringy, where it's like this kind of rehearsed thing. And maybe that goes over well when there's 10,000 people. But when there's like 200 people, everybody's kind of like, how are we supposed to react? Like this is a little bit uncomfortable. When some people like overact, like, I didn't bring myself up from the bottom only to get to the top and not to succeed. And you're like, whoa, bro, let's dial it down. Let's just bring it down. You're at a 10. We need you at about a 6. You got to read the room. But there was some other guys that were cool. One dude was cool. He had like a sales training program that trains salespeople, and how it works is it uses AI to analyze a speech. You give them a speech that they're supposed to use and hit these certain points during the sales process. Again, this is for the next 2 years while humans still do sales. That's going away, obviously. But anyway, it analyzed your phone calls with clients, and then it will give you feedback. Pass, fail, you hit the marks, you didn't hit the marks. This is why you didn't do it. I said, that's pretty cool. Again, it's not going to last very long because there's unfortunately nothing his company does that you can't do yourself on ChatGPT right now and spin the app up right now. Like right now, this second, all of it, every single thing that he had this big slide. And I just kept thinking, man, he's kind of a young guy, so I get it. But yeah, anyway, AI, am I right? Okay, so, and then there was a guy who was he's a professional networker, and he just goes and speaks and networks. He's not really good at anything specific. He's not particularly enjoyable. He's not particularly friendly. It's not much, but he's somehow got on this tour, and now he goes and gives speeches. Sometimes they pay this guy $200K for a speech, and then he sells this program where you can learn how to speak like him. I found him to be kind of off-putting, not super likable, and not specifically intelligent, but he somehow found. So I guess the point of all that is there is, for everybody out there, there's something. This is what I distilled out of all those people last night that gave speeches. While independently, none of them might stand out as being unique or interesting, they're good at some very obscure thing, and they've monetized that obscure thing. So everybody's probably a genius at something in your life. You're the best taxidermy on dead squirrel person, or you paint the best porcelain cows person, or whatever, or underwater basket weaving, something. Everybody probably does something better than almost everyone else on the planet, something obscure. And you could probably sell that to somebody at some point. I'm thinking. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. And they're like, you got to have a thing. You got to be selling. You got to be selling. And that was the other thing is like, you have to have a website, and you have to be coaching, and you have to be charging people, and you got to have to upsell. You have to have 3 things, 3 levels. 1, 2, 3. And then I realized, that's what these networking things are. And they're interesting. They're interesting. But I like listening to all these people because it does make you think like, I mean, if they figured out a way to make tons of money by selling some very rare, random, not seemingly interesting thing, but somewhere out there now, because you have the reach of the internet, somewhere out there is somebody. And now that you have the tools that AI provides you, you can build all this stuff. You don't have to build anything. All you have to do is just be able to precisely explain what you want, and AI will build it for you. And then you can deploy it. And so everybody out there is just like David said, everybody is 8 years away from being an 8-figure earner. It's like if you create something that you could sell once a day, and you can make $300 per day, and then you can scale it with AI and with sales software to bigger lead base, and you can make $1,000 a day. And then pretty soon, after 8 years, you're an 8-figure earner. It's pretty cool. 8 years is not the end of the world. Well, it might be in this case. If Skynet takes over, we don't have 8 years. But short of that, we probably have 8 years. I don't think we have 8 years of humans in workforces, but I think we have 3 years or 4 years. So you can get halfway there. Okay, get to be a 7-figure earner. The main details, Catherine, of his was the best speech, by the way, David's. It was simply this, that once you determine that thing that you're good at, that you're good enough at, and you want to sell it, create something to sell, some coaching service or something where you teach other people the thing that you're good at. And when you get good at that thing and you can sell other people this thing, go out, and there are services that have curated lists for specific markets. He said, if you're selling to lawyers, there's lawyer lists, and there's marketing companies that market just to that. And then if there's real estate, there's real estate lists you can market. There's real estate investor lists. There's one-legged real estate investor lists that play basketball. Like, you can get very, very, specific and like really narrow in on exactly who you think your client is. And, do you do your A/B testing and all that? And then when you find an avenue that works, you hammer that avenue through these marketing companies with marketing, and you have your 3 products that your A, B, and C that you sell, and they'll pick one of those things. Yeah. So that was yesterday. So that was pretty fun. And then what else? What else was exciting? That's it. That's all that was exciting yesterday. Going over to Dave's place was cool. Okay. All right. We'll talk some news. If you have, my voice is almost back. But then you go to these events where everybody's talking and you got to talk louder, and then you lose your voice again. Okay. We will look at markets. We will talk news. If you have questions, I think while we were talking, the last of this week's options may have been, let me see. Is there still an open order? No, that's it. They're all closed out. So everything for this week is closed out. So for any of the, Chase, you're just trying to grind my gears, Barry. You're trying to grind my god-darn gears. But I'll tell you what happened yesterday, because it was even more of a flustercluck. So, yeah, all the options positions closed out. They're all closed out. For those of you that are digital investors, the behind-the-wall stuff, Brandon he'll update that today, and you'll see those are 3 different positions. They were all closed out this morning. So we're all back in cash again. It'll be interesting to see what our percentage is. And I may, depending on what iBit doing good. iBit's crushing. I may sell some stuff for tomorrow. I gotta look. I want to see if iBit. I want to see if Bitcoin pulls back a little bit. It doesn't appear that it will, but there's always like a cool off period. But we're at 97,500 on Bitcoin, and Ethereum, thank Jesus, is 1870. So we're closing in on 1900, maybe get up in the 2000s. I don't know how much. So you guys, some of you know. Well, let's see. Would you know? Okay. Do you guys know that you can borrow against your Bitcoin and other assets on this platform called Morpho? But you can borrow against your Bitcoin directly through Coinbase. And they use Morpho, which is, you can go to app.morpho.org, but you can borrow against your Bitcoin. It's debt, so it's not cash. It's not cashing out. And one could, if one was so inclined, which I did, I took $1 million against my Bitcoin. It took me like 45 seconds. I'm not kidding. I recorded it. I screen captured it. It took 45 seconds. I got the money. You get paid in USDC. I took the money out, converted it to USD, wired it to my bank, where it is now frozen. While they sit on it, doing security review after security review after security review, which, as we all know, is an effing lie. It's Jamie Dimon's sloppy, quasi-illegal attempt to sit on our money and grab a little bit of extra cash, because you know how it works, because that's how banks be. Every time you take money out of a bank, they lose about 9 times that in lending power because of the fractional way the banking system works. They say they've shored that up, but they have not. It's bullcrap, because they do the same rehypothecated bullcrap in the repo market. So banks need your cash because it's lended out in many, many, many multiples. So when you unwind that lending, if you take $1 million and put it in the bank, they're like, yeah, they can lend 9 million on that. But if you take that out, it unwinds 9 million. So that's where we be. Anyway, so they're sitting on my money. They've frozen it arbitrarily. Even though I can go take the money out of the bank right now, they won't let me wire it into my E-Trade account. I could take the money in a duffel bag. Of course, banks don't have $1 million in cash anymore. None of them do. They have maybe 100K. But if they did, I could take my cash, put it in a bag, drive to Morgan Stanley, and deposit it there. I could. I almost did. But anyway, oh God. And it was just like, I spent 3 hours in there yesterday. I spent 2 hours in there the day before to do a wire out of your own account. And then one of the digital private clients, he told me it's even worse for him. They charge him to receive a wire transfer. Like when he gets a wire, he gets charged. I'm like, what kind of crap is that? Imagine grandma gives you a Christmas present and then she charges you. Oh yeah, hey, there's some juice on that, bro. What? Grandma, you're a dick. Yeah, well, if you want the gift, you're gonna have to pay. That sucks. Would I have a good entry price on the iBit? Sure. But we can't talk about that kind of stuff because that would be financial advice. We don't do financial advice except when you're behind the wall for digital investors and digital private clients. Oh shit. Do you see me upsell you? I just upsold you, bro. No, we don't do any forward-facing investment advice. We do all that behind the wall. And Tuesdays and Thursdays is just freebie. So we don't know financial advice. But that stuff will be behind the wall. I already posted that. And the digital private clients, I do it in real time, meaning when I enter a trade, when I exit a trade, they see it right. They see the trade. But there's a variety of legal reasons why it doesn't make sense to do it out front. I don't know how these. Oh, well, I do. I was going to say the technical analysis guys that make all these stupid predictions, it's because they're not investing. They don't actually act on their own information, so they can't say, hey, we didn't benefit. I mean, some of them do it, like Barstool Sports guy, but that guy's going to end up in jail anyway. It's just a matter of time. But you're not supposed to because the law, because SEC. So we'll see. Let's see. May 2nd, 52 is up 80. Preference to sell or expire. I don't know, man. I don't know where you entered it, where you would exit it. I don't know when. The May 2nd, 52. You mean the put? The 52 put? I don't. I'm not sure what you're. I don't know where you're at, Jason. There's not enough information there for me, buddy. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go through the news. This is some cool news. Let's get to it. See if we got some cool pictures. Okay, let's go with. That's a cool one. Here. Oh, it didn't go. Come here, sucker. Bam. Oh, that's not super pretty. It's not super pretty, but it is. It's what we've got. Okay. Music still sound loud? Or is it just me? That's fine. We'll go a little bit louder. Okay. Bitcoin. So here come the predictions. So it's always how it works. Here comes the prediction cycles. At first, they were telling us it was going down. All the same jackasses that were telling you it's going to be 68, 71, all this. Now they're all like, it's going to be 1 million. These dudes, they just constantly throw crap at the wall. Up, down, sideways. It's all these guys know nothing. You know what else? No one knows nothing. No one knows the future. These are speculation markets. So anyway, the prediction now, though, is Bitwise execs, if I don't know if they're wise, but they expect Bitcoin to be 1 million by 2029, fueled by ETF and government demand. So their base case for Bitcoin for the end of 2025 is 200,000 without further government adoption. And this is Bitwise's head of research. So Bitcoin's expanding institutional adoption may provide the structural inflows necessary to surpass gold's market cap and push its price beyond 1 million by 2029, according to Bitwise head of European research, Andre Dragosh. Well, he's bullish. Our in-house prediction is 1 million by 2029, so that Bitcoin would match gold's market cap and total addressable market by 2029. He told them this was during a Chain Reaction Daily X Spaces show. No one cares. Anyway, gold is currently the world's largest asset, valued at over 21.7 trillion for just kind of a useless dead thing, which is cool. Cool for them. So it's over 21.7 trillion in total market cap. In comparison, Bitcoin's market cap sits at 1.9 trillion, making it the 7th largest asset globally, according to companies' market cap data. And actually, that right there is a chart, my friend. Let's see if we can get it. Oh, snap. You guys see that? Let me move the banner. Let's move this little banner here so you guys can see this. Bam! How about that? That blows your hair back. Anyway, for the 2025 market cycle, Bitcoin may surpass 200,000 in the base case, and with more government adoption, as high as 500,000. But once you see sovereign bias, like the U.S. government stepping in, all this will change to 500,000. So the base case is 200,000. That's the base case for this year. You think, wow, that's a lot. It's not really. Bitcoin's kind of floating around 100K right now. That'd only be a double. A double in an up market, in a bull market's not. I mean, for something that went from 3 cents to 6 cents, you wouldn't be like, holy crap. You'd be like, okay, well, yeah, that's what happens in bull market. So I would expect every single asset, just about every quality asset you can throw a stick at to get a double in a bull market after what we've seen the last couple of months. Still got to get on the other side of tariffs and all this kind of stuff. And Governments need to admit that we're in a recession. The Federal Reserve will admit that we're in a recession. They won't take credit. What they'll do is they'll say, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go into that whole thing, but they'll frame it in a way where there's no way they could have known until just now. And then they'll blame it on they'll blame their inactivity and ineffectualness. They'll blame it on everyone else. Well, the economy was strong and resilient. Yeah, but what about all the data? Well, what happened is Trump. No, this has been happening since like 2019, right? We left trend in 2019. We never got back on. COVID made things worse, not better. You guys are all idiots. You guys all thought COVID was growth because governments were spamming money into markets. You're like, look, GDP. That's not what that is, buddy. That's not what that is. Anyway, so even idiots like Jerome Powell, who's not really an idiot, he's a Fed publicist. Even the Fed publicist, Jerome Powell, they will recant. And I would be surprised if there's not a cut in May, but maybe they'll be stubborn one more time, just as a big FU to Donald Trump. We'll see. Anyway, so the base case by these guys is that Bitcoin gets to 200,000 conditional on the U.S. government not stepping in. If they do step in, it will move closer to 500,000. And this is referencing the U.S. government's plan to make direct Bitcoin acquisitions through budget-neutral strategies, which we talked about a while back, are dubious at best. The U.S. is looking at many creative ways to fund its Bitcoin investments, including from tariff revenue and the revaluing of the U.S. Treasury's gold certificates. Why certificates? Because there's no gold there. Just certificates. Creating a paper surplus to fund the BTC reserves without selling gold. Right, because they can't sell gold. They don't have gold. There's nothing to sell. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And it's definitely not there. Bo Hines, the Presidential Council of Advisors for Digital Assets, said all this in an interview on April 14th. Okay. Structural ETF inflows, institutional adoption prolongs the Bitcoin cycle. So the U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs have surpassed all expectations during the first years of trading, exceeding record trading volumes as BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, IBIT, became the fastest growing ETF in human history. That's pretty badass. The first year is usually the slowest for ETFs. That alone implies that in the second and third year, we will see growing inflows in terms of the four-year cycle. This would be the fourth 4-year cycle or whatever. I don't know that that's a direct corollary. I don't think that the cycles mean much anymore. I think this is an adoption story, and hedge funds and pension funds and high net worth individuals and family funds and wealth managers are getting exposure. And so is, occasionally Joe Sixpack through retail. So yeah, man, the Bitcoin cycle may be prolonged when U.S. warehouses and other facilities start gaining exposure to Bitcoin and ETFs. In the U.S., the major distribution channels go via wirehouses, which are essentially big banks like Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley. Not even half of the wirehouses have opened up their distribution channels to the U.S. ETFs. This is another thing. There's a lot of money. That's what we're going to talk about here in a second. There's a lot of money that's stuck on the sideline. There are apparently some restrictive reasons, some legal reasons they can't get direct exposure. So, and it's a lot. Like I'm going to talk about it here in a second. It's a lot. So matter of fact, let's use an ETF banner, which is super cool. Say what? Yeah, I did that. No, we don't want that one. Crap. Hold on. Oh yeah, we got it. Did we get it? No, we went in the wrong place. Hold on. Bam. Now we got it. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's talk Turkey. There is apparently 31.2 trillion blocked from U.S. Bitcoin ETFs. I will say this again because this is a fat ass number. There is 32 trillion, 31.2 trillion. Bitcoin ETF. ETFs provide obviously a much simpler way for investors and funds and fund managers and all that to gain exposure to Bitcoin, right? Indirect exposure. A recent report from TEF Digital revealed that 31.2 trillion US dollars is locked in these US wealth platforms, but is prohibited or restricted from accessing Bitcoin ETFs. Think about that. You're in these wealth funds. We're going to make you rich. And you're just watching Bitcoin just go straight up. And you're like, do we have that yet? No, we don't. But it tripled this year. Yeah, no, it did. Yeah, no, it did. Okay, why don't we have it? Well, kind of makes you wonder how much wealth these wealth managers are creating. For beginners and eager investors, if they want to dip their toes into the crypto space, this is a pretty big limitation because it signals a pretty big challenge and also a pretty big opportunity because if they can sort this out, again, 31.2 trillion. Now, we don't know how much of that would make its way over. And we know that there's a lot of old school bank managers that are like, no, hell no. They would rather be poor than have you succeed because they would look stupid. They'd have egg on their face. Because then you go, well, why didn't we get exposure in the last 15 years? Oh, wait, lightning bolts, fucking UFOs. Okay. Anyway, the idea is, well, this is what Tefra is saying, is that there's a clear picture of the Bitcoin ETF landscape. In their mind, it focuses on the top U.S. wealth platforms, which collectively manage $50.355 trillion in assets. You have Charles Schwab at 10 trillion, Fidelity at 6 trillion, Wells Fargo at 2.29 trillion. Those are kind of like the front runners, right? And they offer unrestricted access to Bitcoin ETFs. This means their clients can seamlessly invest in these products. These funds track Bitcoin's price and trade on traditional exchanges like NYSE and NASDAQ. Okay, great. Then there's Vanguard. Vanguard manages 4.25 trillion, completely prohibits Bitcoin ETF investments. Remember, they went on this big thing. We will never allow it, never, and all this. And then they fucking fired that guy. And now they have a new guy that will never be allowed. Yeah, it's the same crap. These guys are so ridiculous. Anyway, they completely prohibit Bitcoin ETF investments. Like, no, the firm's stance reflects its cautious approach to crypto. Meanwhile, Morgan Stanley, 1.6 trillion, JP Morgan, 3.756 trillion, Edward Jones, 2.17 trillion, also impose restrictions. Clients, you have to have a certain net worth to be able to get IBIT or any of these other Bitcoin ETFs. The same thing that you and I can go right now, jump on E-Trade, and in 35 minutes, you can own some IBIT. The wealth managers at Vanguard, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Edward Jones will not allow you to because you're not intelligent enough. You're not educated enough to make that decision. Isn't that ridiculous? To me, that's some mind-boggling shit. To which I say, fine, you. All right, great. So, but total, it's 31 trillion in wealth platform capital restricted from ETFs. We're not talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about the ETFs. They can't sell puts. They can't buy the asset and sell covered. They can't do any of this. And yet they're being wealth managed. I know. It's crazy. Anyway, so let's see. When I was looking at the list, let's see. Oh, prohibited exposure. Vanguard, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Edward Jones, UBS Americas, Raymond Jones, Allianz Bernstein, Citigroup, Ameriprise Financial, T. Rowe Price, Neuberger Berman, Stifel, Northern Trust, Creative Planning, Truist, Northwestern Mutual. Northwestern Mutual. That's funny. I remember. Did I tell you guys? I actually in 2018, 2019, 18, one of those. I went and talked to their upper echelon at length about getting Bitcoin exposure. We were looking at getting them 1% to 3% exposure. They manage, at that time, it was like $260 billion. And they gave me this whole song and well, we can't. Keep in mind, Bitcoin was below 10K at this time. It was below 10,000. Oh, I don't know. We can't, we have to responsibility to the board. And I'm like, the decision makers are in this room and you guys can't get it done. So apparently they still haven't gotten it done. They now manage 335 billion. So they're over $1/3 trillion. You know what that 3% allocation, that would have been a tantamount to about $8 billion. So they would have put in $8 billion and gotten almost a 12x out of it, just shy of a 12x as of today. So I don't know. I don't know if basically adding a quarter to a third to your entire portfolio would have made sense. But anyway, they didn't do it. And I'm sure it's still the same people working there, the same jackasses. I knew they were in trouble because they didn't understand they didn't understand the yield curve. And it was just like a little discussion. And they were like, when I say they didn't understand, I mean, they did not understand how a yield curve works. Like that the price of the bond goes down as yield goes up, and as yield comes down, the price of the bond goes up. They didn't understand like what you learn in the first week of Econ 101. But these guys are professional wealth managers. It's all bullshit. They're all salesmen. None of these dudes know anything about money. Anyway, Northwestern Mutual restricted. Denied. Exposure prohibited. BNY Mellon restricted. Edelman Financial restricted. So that's a lot, man. It's $31.2 trillion of wealth management where they think you're not competent enough you can't make an educated decision. Well, wait a minute. Then how the fuck did I get wealthy? Like, it's funny, like you get wealthy doing what you do. Then you let them be the manager or the, custodian of your money. And then they start telling you what you can't do because you're too stupid. You're too stupid. You're uneducated. What do you mean? I'm rich. No. You're uneducated. You're an idiot. You can't have exposure to the highest performing asset in human history. They're still at it. These guys are still at it. Oh, they won't bend the knee. Anyway, in total, 10.319 trillion is fully prohibited. 20.886 trillion faces deep restriction. That leaves just 19 trillion with unrestricted access. For context, that's a 5% allocation of that restricted capital would mean 1.56 trillion flowing into Bitcoin ETFs. Even a 1% allocation would add 312 billion. That would probably bump Bitcoin up a lot. As of April 2025. Oh, wait, let me get what's my flavor today? I feel like it's kind of like pumpkin-y. It's one of the pumpkin ones. It's either pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice. I highly recommend it. As of April 2025, Bitcoin ETFs added 32,521 Bitcoin to their total holdings, marking a strong month of accumulation. And remember, when you have this accumulation of Bitcoin, it's not a bunch of Bitcoin that's being put on exchanges. It's the opposite. It's OTC deals. It's strip mining Bitcoin out of circulation. So every time you have a month, every time you have a week where there's big ETF inflows, as more people load into the ETF, those ETFs go out, they have to source Bitcoin. So they buy Bitcoin and then they custody it. And they buy more Bitcoin and they custody it. And then you got the Michael Saylors and all these other douchebag Ponzi schemers, and they buy Bitcoin and they custody it. And then they make up terms like Bitcoin yield and all this kind of stupid shit that's not real. But anyway, that's what's happening. ETFs right now hold 1,337,814 Bitcoin. And they're valued at around 128 billion. And so they're having a pretty realistic affect on the market, right? So this means that ETFs currently own 6.4% of all Bitcoin that will ever exist. And the number's higher because remember, there's been 5 to 6 million Bitcoin that are likely permanently lost. Gone, see you later, bye, not recoverable. So the US apparently is the clear leader in this ETF Bitcoin accumulation. They account for 87% of total ETF held Bitcoin. So yes, the US has definitely turned the corner towards adoption. So that's pretty cool. All right. Let me see if I can, let's see, you entered at 83. I don't understand. Did you sold? You got to say what you did. So when you set these things up, you say, okay, you need to say you sold to open XYZ. This, you don't have to say how many contracts, but at this price, or you sold to open XYZ call at this price. So I still don't have enough information, but I think you're doing. I think you're selling puts. I think. I'm not sure because. Yeah. Anyway. Because it wouldn't be up. Oh, it's up 80 cents. You're meaning that the price is 3 cents on the 52. Let's just take a look because now I'm curious. Let's take a look at IBIT option chains. Let's look at the May 2. You're saying the 52. If it's 3 cents and you sold it for 80, me, again, not advice. This is just if I was here and I had sold something a few days back for 80 cents and it was now worth 3 cents, my friend, I would purchase it back. I would buy it back and be out. And I would take a 79 cent win. I would take a 79 cent win, my man. Yes. Again, not advice, Jason. But if it was me, see you later, bye. You might even be able to redeploy it up a couple notches. You might even get, if Bitcoin was to give up a little bit, if Bitcoin was to cool off today, you might be able to buy it back and sell it again and then let it expire tomorrow and just grab the pennies for free. I sometimes look at that. Like I'm out of everything right now. I'm in all cash. I exited everything this morning. I'm in all cash now. And for those of you that are digital investors, again, you'll be able to, you can go to the dashboard and Brandon will have here in the next few hours, he'll have posted those trades. There were 3 trades. One was 44 contracts, 45 contracts, 48 contracts. Yeah. Okay. And they were three consecutive contracts, strike prices. So anyway, yeah, spread your risk. All right. So then we have. So anyway, there's a lot going on in the Bitcoin world. I'll tell you what. Let me throw up that chart so we can see what's going on over here in the corn. What's up with the children of the corn? Children of the Bitcoin. All right. Yeah, so still 97. 97 is good. And look at that. We did it. We did it, you guys. We got back to 3 trillion. It was a long time coming. It was several months of getting our butts kicked. So that's cool. Okay. So I will just leave that up there as we go and we talk about Ethereum a little bit. So, and I've even got a cool, here, go there. Damn it. Anyway, it was kind of a cool, it's like the little Ethereum guy doing this little Ethereum guy thing. It's like, hey, I'm Ethereum. That's where my mouth would be, I guess. But whatever. I don't have any other clear, like, human features other than the hands. All right. Ethereum is going through this transition where they're trying to compete again. So we know this. So Ethereum is trying to simplify cross-chain transactions. I mean, cross-chain meaning among other chains with new token standards. So Ethereum developers have proposed the ERC 7930 and the ERC 7828 to unify cross-chain address formats and improve multi-chain user experience. So I'll try to keep this somewhat simple, but a little bit of this is in the weeds. What you need to take away from this is that, thank God, the developers at Ethereum are not sitting on their ass again, and they're actually trying to make improvements because they realize they're getting destroyed. So Ethereum developers are working to improve interoperability with these 2 new token standards. Again, 7930 and 7828. So there's no standard way for wallets, for apps, protocols, or whatever to interpret or display this information. Like decentralized financial ecosystem development guy is saying this stuff. He's saying that wallets, decentralized applications, dApps, block explorers, and smart contracts follow different sets of rules. And so the result is that there's a very messy, inconsistent experience that breaks cross-chain user experience, okay? And so there's a group of developers called Wonderland, and their group, they have researchers, data scientists, devs, all this kind of stuff. They are working on improving the Ethereum DeFi ecosystem. And so the organization partnered with multiple DeFi protocols, including Optimism, Aztec, Next, and Yearn. And just as a little side note caveat, you think, well, why do I care? Well, the transactions you're doing when you're borrowing Bitcoin, when you're borrowing against your Bitcoin, that transaction basically takes your Bitcoin, wraps your Bitcoin, locks your Bitcoin, sends, and this is all happening across Ethereum rails. As far as I understand, it might be base rails, but the same difference, layer 2. But I think it's Ethereum rails just because of the fees. And then you get back USDC. So that's a DeFi transaction. I'll give you another one. Right now, I'm going to do it as soon as my Ethereum unstakes from Coinbase, which takes anywhere from 3 to 13 days. When it's unstaked, I will take my Ethereum. I will go over to Lido. I will stake it, which then they will give me ST ETH. I will wrap that into WST ETH. I will take the WST ETH and I will fire off a loan against it. And I'll do, because Ethereum is so volatile, I'll do probably 50% loan to value. And I'll grab some more money, which I will then take, convert to USDC, take the USDC, push it out to my bank account, take the money there, go, and where I'll go sit at Chase for another 5 or 6 effing hours while they continue to play with their dicks instead of giving me my money. But eventually, that money, through all of that, will enter my E-Trade account where I'll sell cash secured puts and covered calls. And at the same time, because of some of the cool things that exist in DeFi, I'm still getting paid staking rewards on my original Ethereum that got locked up. So think about that for a second. I borrow X amount against my Ethereum that I'm still getting paid staking rewards for. The staking rewards are a little bit less than the cost to maintain the loan, but it eats up most of it. So my staking rewards pay off the encumbrance of my debt service while I have, and by the way, this is not a sale. This is a loan. I've spun up a loan, meaning zero tax burden, bro. So that money is now tax-free that I get to use to generate income from it while I'm staking. Anyway, all these kinds of things, that is DeFi. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's messy, sometimes you lose all your shit. So what this organization is saying is it gets very messy when you're going across different chains and all of these kind of pieces are floating around together, and there needs to be a better way. There needs to be a universal address formats for interoperability. So, and this is where their 7828 ERC and 7930 ERC kind of come into play. So basically they said the current goal is to finalize both of these new token standards within the next 2 weeks. So this isn't something from next year. This is in the next 2 weeks. So they're explaining that their ERC 7930 is a compact binary format for interoperable addresses. This format is machine friendly. It's optimized for protocols that require a single representation for all blockchains. And they said that on the 7828 ERC, what they're trying to do is expand that standard by adding a human readable layer using formats like address, @chain, things like that. So ensuring that everything stays clean and clear and simple for regular human users. So together, these two token standards are designed to enhance the overall experience of using Ethereum's inner blockchain ecosystem. They said the target audience for ERC 7828 is anything that interacts with humans at all in the text layer, right? So put simply, the proposed system would allow the sender to specify the target blockchain when sending a payment address, right? So this would include both a human readable address, like address at, and then whatever chain, like meaning whatever chain you're sending to. And in that format, and then a machine readable format for applications performing those same interfaces. So this setup would prevent users from sending or receiving assets on the wrong blockchain. So it might be like Bob at Base, Richard at Cardano, although no one uses Cardano, but you get it, right? So the at, it would be the address at and the chain where you want it to go to, so that you wouldn't be like, oh, did that one go to Base? Did that one, where did it go? It's gone. Optimism. So currently, the same address can be used on multiple blockchains within the Ethereum ecosystem, which can lead, and has, many of you have experienced it, to some confusion. Like your Base address is the same as your Ethereum address, is the same as your Optimism. You see where I'm going? Anyway, so with this new setup, wallet operation can be block agnostic and blockchain agnostic, and the address input into the user interface will also determine which blockchain the transaction is directing towards. So this will reduce friction because users right now, you have to go switch in the wallet and switch the network and all this kind of shit. Nope, no more. This would alleviate the need for that. So he's thinking that based on this and some of the other stuff they're doing, that all of these Ethereum layer 2s will all be interoperable within months, which starts to make Ethereum, again, a little bit more powerful, and then sees incremental improvements that they're making that make Ethereum a little better each day. So that's cool. I like it. I am pleased that they're motivated again. Me, that's great, because it seemed like they had been sitting on their ass for a long flipping time. So good on Ethereum for getting off your asses. Yeah. All right. Woo-woo. So that's what we got. So if you guys have any final questions, we can knock those out. Otherwise, we can call it a day. I will be just watching prices. I'm gonna watch, like, you know, I bird dog these things while I do cardio. Let's see where we're at. So we're at 55.16. Ideally, this thing drops back down a little bit. It gives up some during the day. And I would probably go fishing for some cash. Again, I'll look. I have to look around. I'm going to have to see what's juicy. But I feel good. I think I got out of everything. Yeah, it was a good week. We should be. I have to ask Brandon. I don't know where we are right now this second, but I would bet. I bet we're pushing 7% for the month. And we still got a week and change left. So we're still going to get another set and maybe 2 sets of options contracts sold, but closed out, probably not. We're going to still get a whole extra week of contracts cleaned out. I bet we crack 8% this month. That's not bad. That's not a bad 1 month. And again, it's weekly compounding, not monthly. It's weekly because every week you have a little bit more to work with. But I think if my numbers is right, when I deuced out of that last one, that was a close. Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's kind of just sitting. All right. Yeah, man, that's where we're at. So, boy, you can just stare at these options. You can just stare at these charts all day. Don't do it. But you could. The ETH A weeklies. Yeah, the problem, Steve, is they're just not that interesting. I look at them and I put them into GPT and I have GPT-4 go and look at them and say, is it worth it? But the premiums aren't there and there's just no liquidity. So far, I mean, eventually that will change, but so far no one gives a crap. There's just not a lot of money to be made. I mean, there's Ethereum is incredibly volatile, but it's the Bitcoin show right now. It's the Bitcoin show. No one cares about anything else. So where we be? All right. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. Don't do anything. My poor insolvent drunk, strung on meth, probably in hell, working at a branch at Chase, one of the Chase branches in hell. Oh, by the way, I was gonna. They were trying to pitch me on refi. I just got this place like 4 months ago. They want to do a refi. I could save you $2,000. I could save you $2,000 a month. Okay. Well, you just cost me about $5,000 a day for every day that you guys don't let me have my money. So I don't know, man. I don't think I'm going to be taking that mortgage. No offense, bro. But when you don't let me have my own money and you sit on it and just make up bullcrap, buddy, I'm not. If I want a mortgage, I'll spin up my own fucking mortgage against my own money, and I'll do it, and I'll go into debt to do it against myself. Bam. Anyway, I don't know, man. I don't know about the alpha brain. I don't think it's bad. I don't know that I can compare it. You would have to be able to compare your effective mental acuity before some time. And I don't know if there's some loading phase with alpha brain because, your body needs to absorb some of these nutrients. And I don't know. I don't know how to compare efficacy. I don't think there's any correlation to my cursing. It's the same. I still use the same amount of F-bombs that I always have. So it definitely doesn't curtail that. Maybe I'm making better decisions, but I guess I rely on AI a lot. So I'm not sure if that's just me or if that's the AI talking. Probably the AI. Because AI keeps getting better, and maybe I'm just attributing it to my alpha brain pills. But even so, if there's a placebo effect, I guess there's some merit in that. It's not prohibitively expensive. So, whatevs. Anyway, but we'll see. But you know what? I'm not saying no because I'm not making dumb decisions. But again, I use AI to sanity check most of my stuff. I do a lot of stuff and it's like, oh man, this guy called it, or this guy, you had some good trades. I research everything. I sanity check everything I do. I have a dialogue specifically about my option strategy with GPT-4 that we've been having for months. And so I just jump on and say, "Hey, look at the market today. What do you see?" And it will just tell me, like, in the game theoretical way that I think, it will tell me, like, it will talk to me that way. It's really cool. So yeah, it really makes you competitive. I have some buddies of mine. Well, one of the reasons I go to that networking thing, I have a friend, a real estate guy. They're putting together a pile of around $25 million to do this very thing, to do exactly what we're doing, but just with a pile of cash of 25 million rather than, the paltry amount that we have in ours. But yeah, so yes, I use AI to sanity check everything I do. So even if I think I have a good idea, it's probably not really mine. It's probably the after effects of many kind of conversations with the AIs. Yeah. They've diminished in quality? Damn. Well, how can they diminish in quality? Maybe in quantity, but not the quality. The quality of my F-bombs is c'est magnifique. Anyway, let's call it a day. Stay in school, don't do drugs, don't do anything my porn style drunk, starting my grandmother or Brandon wouldn't do. We will see you tomorrow. And remember, everybody everywhere is trying to steal all of your stuff all the time. Crypto is illiquid assets on illiquid exchanges traded by sketchy, dubious-ass individuals that want to steal your shit. They would step on your dead grandmother's neck to slide her wallet out of her pocket. That's crypto. I mean, that's probably all markets, but it's definitely crypto.